So pretty much you're telling me 3 to 4 people dressed up as construction workers snuck into one of the most, if not the most visited museum in the entire world, into the jewelry section with France's crown jewels, stole 8 to 9 pieces in under 7 minutes and got away with it?
You already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. The biggest heist. You up to bet. Bah! It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Two things we gotta do. You gotta hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos. We back with another one. Before we get into it though, make sure you hit that like button. Also, if you want to book a one-on-one consultation with me, you can. It'll be in the pinned comment, also in the description. If you want to talk about YouTube content creation, health, fitness, realignment, all that type of stuff, man. Also, it's around the holidays, so if you know somebody that might want to holler at your boy, I'm just saying. But yeah, it'll be in the pinned comment for the people that want to tap in, man. So make sure you do so. But we back with another one. We got some of the biggest heists in history. Let's go ahead and get into it. You make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. Fire Squad, what's popping? Let's get it.
This is Leonardo Notarbartolo, mastermind behind the boldest heist of the whole century. Called the Antwerp Diamond Heist, he led a crew that stole $100 million in cash, diamonds, and most importantly gold in one of the most secure vaults in the world.
What?
Here's how one tiny mistake nearly made him get away with it all. First of all, Leonardo wasn't doing this alone, and he led a group called the School of Turin, team of expert Italian thieves. Each member had their own specialism. For example, one was a master locksmith, the other was a genius known for cracking alarm systems, and one was a safecracker with decades of experience. Together, they were pulling heists all over Europe, and the Antwerp job was the biggest one yet. First of all, Leonardo posed as a diamond merchant and rented an office in the Antwerp Diamond Center. This is how they were going to gain access to the vault. 2 years, the team studied the security system and even gained insider information. The vault was a fortress. It had magnetic locks, motion sensors, heat detectors, seismic alarms, and steel doors. It was going to be a challenge, but this is how they did it. First of all, to disable the heat sensors, they used a homemade hairspray.
What?
Also crafted a fake key to bypass the locks and blacked out the security cameras. And even laid a carpet so it silenced their movements.
Wow.
On the night of February 15th, 2003, they cracked over 100 safes without triggering a single alarm. They made one tiny mistake. Just a tiny one. Leonardo, the leader of the group, was dumping evidence he left a bag of receipts and security system invoices, and even a half-eaten sandwich, which was leaving DNA evidence near the crime scene.
What?
Local farmer found it and turned it over to police, and the breadcrumb led them straight to Leonardo. And he was the only member of his group to actually be found and convicted in 2005 to 10 years in prison. And his associates left without a trace. But guess what? Till this day, most of the diamonds were never recovered, making this...
Hold on, so he the only one that got caught. He didn't even snitch on his people. He kept it quiet.
It's the incredible heist of the century.
Another massive crypto heist. This time, though, the biggest in history. Hackers have stolen $1.5 billion from Bybit, one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges. The attack compromises Bybit's cold wallet, an offline storage system meant to be secure, raising serious questions about how hackers got in. Blockchain firms have since traced the stolen funds to North Korea's Lazarus Group, the same cybercrime syndicate behind other billion-dollar crypto thefts. The breach triggered a wave of withdrawals as users panicked, but Bybit's CEO insists that all of their wallets are safe, and the exchange has secured emergency funding to cover losses. With Lazarus still finding ways to exploit crypto vulnerabilities, though, experts warn no matter how strong the security, the risk of major crypto thefts isn't going away anytime soon.
Do your own research.
Did y'all know the largest memorabilia heist in NBA history just went down and nobody's told us about it? See, the Miami Heat were just robbed of $3.5 million worth of jerseys.
What?
Well, here's how the guy did it. See, this is Marcos Thomas Perez. He is a 62-year-old retired Miami cop turned Heat security guard. Now, Perez had been working in the Miami Heat arena since 2016, and it seemed like everyone there loved him. He was a fan favorite. But turns out he had been working a master plan the whole time. See, after each game, the equipment staff would bring all of the game-worn jerseys and equipment, put them in a room to be washed and stored away. Now, very few people in the city of Miami had a key to that room, but turns out, as a security guard, Perez was one of them. Over an 8-year span, after big games, Perez would sneak into the room and snag the game-worn jerseys. He took over 400 game-worn pieces from the Heat and would sell them on different marketplaces. He made nearly $2 million doing this, but by far his biggest steal and biggest mistake was when he took a LeBron James jersey from Game 7 of the 2013 NBA Finals. Now, he found the prized possession tucked in the room and took it when nobody was looking, but here's the issue. See, Perez was selling everything for way below market value. He sold that Bron jersey for only $100K and it was later sold at auction for $3.5 million. Eventually, one of the buyers stumbled onto his account and realized that he had done these lowballs hundreds of times. So they reported him to the FBI, who then raided his house and found jerseys everywhere. Turns out he was using a Mario Chalmers jersey as his bath towels. Now, the Heat ended up confirming that all of these uniforms were legit, and well, he was caught and sent right to jail. So this is all hail B-ball. And if you're gonna steal from an NBA team, I guess sell it for market value. I don't really know what the lesson here was, but click follow.
How much time did Buddy get though?
The biggest heist of the century has just been pulled off in LA, okay? These guys made it away with $30 million cash. Let me tell you exactly about it.
So this past Easter Sunday, some individuals were able to actually break into the Garda facility where they were storing $30 million in cash, okay? So these guys were able to bypass their security system. So these guys were able to get in through the side of the building or the roof. They're not even sure. They were able to bypass the security system on the vault, and that allowed them access, and they walked out of the bank with $30 million. But look, the craziest part is that no one even knew that the money was missing until the following morning when people started coming in for work and they finally checked the vault and seen that the money was missing. So there was no forced entry or anything like that to the vault. Again, they bypassed the security system and they were able to walk away with $30 million. That company is Garda World. Garda World works with thousands of different companies that me and you know of right here today. They deal in ATM transfers and a lot of big money transports. So it's not a good look for them.
Yeah, 30 million? 30 mil?
Did you know that a $200 thermostat was used to steal $50 million from Las Vegas's most secure casino? In March 2017, cybercriminal Harrison Webb targeted the MGM Grand's impenetrable vault system. But he didn't try to break down walls or crack safes. Instead, he spent 6 months studying something nobody expected, the casino's smart thermostat in the High Roller Aquarium. Webb discovered that luxury amenities shared the same servers as the vault's financial systems. He hacked the thermostat and used its sensor data to map employee movement patterns inside the casino. Then he found it, a 4-minute window during shift changes when vault access codes were updated. On the night of the heist, Webb remotely triggered fire alarms to evacuate security personnel. While chaos erupted, he manipulated the vault's locking mechanisms from miles away. All 47 safety deposit boxes opened simultaneously as security cameras showed an empty room. Millions vanished into automated collection systems he had secretly reprogrammed. Digital forensics eventually traced the breach back to that innocent-looking aquarium thermostat. A fish tank device had compromised Vegas's most secure facility.
In the history of Dubai, such a robbery has never happened before. It was April 15th, 2007. 2 Audis crashed through the glass door of Wafi Mall. Out of these vehicles, 6 men came out wearing masks. They broke into the world-class jewelry store called Graf and they stole jewelry worth 14.8 million dirhams. They took the jewelry and fled the scene. What is shocking is these guys did all of this in just 58 seconds. They escaped via Zabil Road and they found a completely deserted place where they completely destroyed the car. They burned the cars to the ground to get rid of all the evidence. But they forgot where they're doing this. In Dubai, the city with the world's best police force. Do you think the Dubai police sat idle? Not at all. They assigned their best officers for this mission. The police found 12 DNA samples and they sent it to the Interpol as well as other agencies. And they immediately got information about who these criminals are. These guys were a part of an international gang called the Pink Panthers. They were responsible for similar activities in Japan, Europe and Switzerland. But unlike Japan and Europe, Dubai police made sure that this was their last act. Within just 2 days, Dubai police arrested 2 members from the gang. With the help of these 2, they caught the other 4 as well. Despite their high levels of international crime, Dubai police closed the chapter in just 2 days. We all know that Dubai is the safest city in the world. And why is that? It's because of their strong police force. Now tell me, how many days did it take to solve crimes in your country?
Ooh, we talking this shit. Talking how long it take?
We just witnessed the heist of the decade. Yesterday, a group of thieves broke into the Louvre in Paris and successfully made it out with 9 items potentially worth hundreds of millions. It's being called a national disaster because the items that they made it out with are historic pieces of jewelry, hundreds of years old, and used to belong to kings, queens, and royalty. One of the pieces belonged to Napoleon III's wife and contained over 2,400 diamonds. The 9th item that was stolen was this crown, but it was recovered broken at the scene. But what's even crazier is how these guys pulled it off. I mean, for starters, it was literally daylight robbery because they decided to go in around 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. They wore high-vis vests pretending to be construction workers. They pulled up in this van with a mechanical lift. It ascended to the balcony of the 2nd floor where they got through the windows using disc cutters. Once inside, they also cut through the display cases. They grabbed the items, descended down the basket lift again. They tried but failed to set fire to the van, then got on 2 motorbikes, fled the scene, and were never seen since. Bro, they were in and out in 4 minutes. In fact, the entire thing lasted 7. Art detective Arthur Brand said that the heist was the...
Yo, this is like some movie stuff. This is full movie stuff, man. 4 minutes. These dudes pull up with a crane and get... What?
Theft of the decade, and warned that police have about a week to catch them, and if not, the loot will probably be gone and dismantled.
This is crazy.
There was a massive heist at the Louvre today in Paris. Movie type stuff. Ocean's 11, National Treasure type stuff going on here. When thieves entered the museum, when it was open, broad daylight, stole crown jewels from like Napoleon type years. It took them 4 minutes. This is going to be a movie one day. This all went down this morning. The museum opened at 9:30, and that's when they hit it. Broad daylight. Thieves show up in this van. On top of the van is this ladder. It extends to the top of this exhibit that is under construction. The officials described this as a professional 4-minute operation. The thieves smashed display cases and fled with priceless Napoleonic jewels from the Louvre. The Louvre, how do you get inside? What? They entered through the Apollo Gallery, as you can see right here. According to this video from a French television network, it looks like they were dressed as construction workers, went in, smashed it, got what they got, and left. Obviously, there is a manhunt underway right now for the thieves who got away on high-powered scooters. You know those Europeans love those little scooters. They do. Like every TV show that I watch that has Europeans in it, French, Italians, they love those little scooters. While getting away, the thieves dropped one of the things they stole, which is this crown of Napoleon III's wife. And because it fell out of a bag or something, it's broken now. But the most fascinating thing is they left the most expensive item in the entire collection there, a 140 karat diamond from an emperor or something. Absolutely outrageous stuff. This is something that will be made into a movie. I need the documentary right now. I need it. My question now is, the thieves, obviously this is an operation, they're trying to make money. How are they gonna make it? Who are they gonna sell it to?
Right.
If French officials think they're never gonna get this back, who are they selling it to? And how much are they gonna get? They said it's priceless. I mean, what's even the market for this? I wanna know about the world that buys stolen goods like this. How does the Louvre get broken into? The National Treasure, Nicolas Cage, Ocean's 11, 12, 13. This is the plot for Ocean's 14.
Nuts, man.
So this French guy pulls off maybe the craziest bank heist of all time. Now the guy's name is Albert. And Albert is around 44 when this story starts, living in France. And Albert, he's kind of a turd in the past. He's been to prison a couple of times, but he's out now and he's living a clean life working as a photographer. Good for him. However, Albert runs into a problem. This middle-class existence he's been living lately, it's kind of boring. He misses his old criminal life, and that was really exciting for him. And one day in 1976, he discovers a way to get that old thrill back. Because he walks into a local bank. And when he steps into the safe deposit room, he notices something interesting. The room has no alarm system.
Oh,
and that is when he gets an insane idea. What if he were to rob the bank?
No.
That might be exciting. And so he starts scoping out the place, and he opens an account, and he makes frequent visits, acting like a normal customer. But when he's there, he takes a bunch of photos of the vault's layout. But here's the thing. Although the bank has no alarm system, pretty quickly Albert realizes that breaking in through the front door, that's just way too risky. So he starts thinking, what if I break in through the sewers? Maybe I could access the vault through there. And so at night, when no one's around, he goes and he scouts
Why is he talking like that?
out the city's sewer system in the area, trying to find the best way that he can get from there into the bank. And he spends like 6 days going in and out of the sewer tunnels like a frickin' Ninja Turtle. But with no signs and no maps and no directions down there, he keeps getting lost. And so he heads over to the city office and he requests the blueprints of the entire sewer system. And I guess the staff there thinks Albert's some kind of builder working on a home project, so they hand them over to him with no problem. Once Albert starts studying the sewer layout, he realizes this heist is going to be big. He's gonna need more manpower.
No.
And so who does he get to help him? The mob. And so Albert, he goes and he recruits 10 mob members and 10 of his other friends to join him. And so, boom, they all get to work, working during the night in the sewer, digging a side tunnel little by little. Here's actually an image of the tunnel they spend all their time building. Meanwhile, all this is going on underground and no one seems to notice.
Crazy.
Not even the people in the buildings above. Or maybe they do hear it and they just think it's like city workers or something. I don't know. But no one reports anything. And 2 months go by. And finally, they reach the concrete right beside the bank's vault. And just a few inches more and they'll be in. And so Albert and the guys wait. They wait for the weekend when the bank is closed. Then they cut through the concrete and finally they make it inside the vault. But their work's not done yet. Clearing out this entire vault, that's gonna take them a couple of days. And so they get to work and they use welding tools and they weld the vault door shut from the inside. I guess to like buy themselves some time in case the police arrive. Then they crack open the safe deposit boxes and they start taking everything out of them. Cash, jewelry, gold, gemstones. And they keep this going all weekend long. I mean, they are there all weekend long. Like they cook food in there, they eat and they drink together in there, they sleep in there, they poop in like containers. You can just go out in the sewer and poop and come back in. Why you gotta use a container? But that's what they do. But here's where the story gets really wild. So Monday morning comes, and the heist is finally done. They have everything they need, and they crawl all the way out of the tunnel, and they leave the scene. And no one spots them, and they all get away. And a few hours go by, and it's time for the bank to open up. So the bank opens up, and some customers show up like any other normal day, and some of them want to access their safe deposit boxes, which are in the vault. And so a bank employee goes to open the vault, and boom, it doesn't work. The door won't open. Because remember, Albert and his team welded it shut. And so the bank employees are like, Sacre bleu, what is going on? And they keep trying, but the door won't open. They even try to break the door, but that still doesn't work. And hours go by. And they finally get some guys to show up who end up using jackhammers on the wall beside the door, and they're able to create a small hole. And when they look inside that hole into the vault, they realize it's empty. They've been robbed. And when they finally get inside the vault, they discovered that 317 safe deposit boxes have been cleaned out, and Albert has stolen nearly 46 million francs. or about 10 million US dollars.
Oh, shit.
That is a lot of money in 1976. That's a lot of money now.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they call police, and police start investigating all this. And pretty quickly, someone flips, and police learn that Albert was the mastermind behind the whole heist. And so, bam, they arrest him. Here's his mugshot.
Damn.
And Albert, he seems to be a nice guy, so he confesses. He's like, I did it. And so it looks like he's finally gonna pay for his crimes. Until... Here's the thing. Albert, he's not ready to go to prison. Like, he really seems to be enjoying the thrill of this criminal life that he's gotten back into. And so he comes up with a plan to escape. And one day in 1977, he's at a hearing in the judge's office. He hasn't been sentenced yet. And Albert says that he's feeling hot, and so he goes to open up a window. And he opens it up, and right then, boom, he straight up jumps out of it, and he lands on a parked car. And then skirt, a motorcycle pulls up, and one of his friends is driving it. And so he hops on the back of it, and the guys take off. And it all happens so fast that police, they don't even realize what's going on. And by the time they do, Albert has already fled. I guess Albert and his friend apparently had this whole escape planned out. And so police, they look everywhere for him, but they can't find him. He's long gone. And 2 years go by. And it's now 1979. And the court sentences Albert anyway. Like, he's sentenced to life in prison even though they have no idea where he's at. Meanwhile, Albert, he's out there living his best life. He's got a ton of money from his share of the heist, and he's apparently, like, living a life of luxury. But he ain't trying to get caught, so he's always on the move. And he's always in disguise. He's like always wearing wigs and using fake passports and moving between Brazil and Chile and Argentina. He even gets plastic surgery at one point so that no law enforcement will recognize him.
Really?
And it works. Like, no one finds him for years. Here's actually a little bit of footage of him in disguise, and you can see what is clearly a fake beard. And so over time, Albert even starts to get a little cocky, thinking the police will never catch him. Apparently, he starts mailing pictures of himself to newspapers and magazines, saying, "Hello from Albert," just letting everyone know that he still hasn't been caught. It's like he's taunting the police. Not only that, this dude writes 3 books during his time on the run, bragging about the heist he pulled off. And he somehow gets them published. And this goes on for the next 12 years. And so it's now 1989. And Albert still hasn't been caught. In fact, he never gets caught. Like, they never catch him. He eventually dies from cancer, still a free man. And to this day, the police never found the millions of francs of stolen money that he took. Not a single bit of it. Plus, out of the 20 people involved in the heist, only 3 were ever caught and sentenced. Like I said, like one of the most successful heists in history. And a huge shout out to LayedBakDFR for sponsoring this video. If you make videos and you want to make really badass art for those videos, like this or like this, like look at how cool that is. Sign up for LayedBakDFR.
Bro, he never got caught. That's wild.
This man single-handedly robbed a Vegas casino of $500,000 and then vanished into thin air. And you won't believe how he pulled it off. This is Bill Brennan. Bill was a longtime employee at the Stardust Casino. He was a quiet person that spent most of his time with his cat. Nobody thought he was capable of a heist. But on September 22nd, 1992, Bill Brennan pulled off the largest unsolved heist in Vegas history. So just how did he pull it off? Bill was working the sportsbook that night. He was assigned to count the deposits from that night of betting. Whether it was planned or spontaneous, Bill Brennan took advantage of a busy night, bagged $500,000 in cash and chip, and simply walked out the front door. Despite there being multiple cameras at each door, no footage was found of him walking out. Vegas police immediately went to his house to investigate and found that his cat was missing and he had vanished without a trace. It's been almost 20 years and there's still no sign of him.
He walked out with 500.
When the four suspects were led into court this morning, a crowd of cameras greeted them. Each of the young men held a magazine up to block out their faces. They're accused of carrying out what has been called a spectacular heist, and this was the target, a 100-kilogram gold coin known as the Big Maple Leaf. It was made by the Canadian Mint in 2007, and its owner loaned it to a museum in Berlin where it was on display. That was until March of 2017 when it was stolen. Police allege that the suspects used a ladder to climb up to the third floor where they broke through a window of the museum. They say at that point they somehow managed to smash the bulletproof glass that this coin was encased in. Police say they used a rope and a wheelbarrow to get the coin out of there. As for the gold coin, it has never been recovered. Investigators believe it was likely melted down and broken apart. They believe all of those individual pieces could have been sold for as much as 6 million Canadian dollars.
Whoa, never got, this is crazy.
We've just seen the biggest theft of crypto ever. $1.5 billion worth of digital currency stolen by hackers. So what do we know? Bybit, the second largest cryptocurrency exchange, says it was the victim of a sophisticated hack. The attacker navigated past careful security protocols and manipulated a routine transfer of Ethereum between digital wallets. Ethereum, or Ether, is one of the most popular cryptocurrencies. The transfer needed multiple checks and signatures before it went ahead, but the attackers seem to have masked the true destination and the funds have vanished. Bybit is now trying to reassure its customers and says it can cover the loss if the crypto can't be found.
All of the money is in the wallet, meaning that if even today, all of the Bybit client withdraw, we can give your withdrawals. So no matter what, we will make sure all of the clients' money are safe.
So who took it? We don't know for sure yet, but analysts at Elliptic have linked it to the Lazarus Group, a North Korean hacking collective with a history of targeting crypto platforms. As for the stolen funds, investigators will be trying to trace them and maybe even recover them. But there will be questions about the security of the cryptocurrency industry.
They're not getting that back. They're not getting that back, bruh.
Top 3 largest robberies in history. Number 3 is the Banco Central burglary in Fortaleza, Brazil. Now, these robbers did some crazy-ass shit, okay? They dug a 256-foot hole in the ground so they could steal $70 million out of a vault. I'm like, 256 feet? As a child, I'd try to dig a 3-foot hole and I'd burn out after a couple scoops of dirt. They got some dedication. Number 2 is the Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Company burglary in 2015. Now, this was a group of elderly dudes. They stole $200 million worth of jewels and all sorts of crap. And I'm like, what the hell did they need all that money for? Their hip replacements? If you like this list and want more about other nonsense, follow me. Leave me a comment with your thoughts on these expensive-ass burglaries. I'm like, who do these people think they are? Ocean's 11? Also follow my wife, Samantha, who I've tagged. Number 1, now this one's kind of interesting because it wasn't a traditional robbery. These were some group of thieves that siphoned off oil from the Russia-Asia pipeline. And they did this over the course of 4 years.
Really?
And in that time, they managed to siphon off over $2 billion worth of oil. This is known as the Bialystok pipeline siphoning.
$2 billion. 4 years.
Have you ever heard of South Africa's most famous bank robbers? And no, I'm not talking about the government. This is the insane true story of the craziest bank heist in South African history, and honestly, this could be a Netflix series. In 1977, a group of friends stole 400,000 Rand from the Standard Bank in Krugersdorp, which is equivalent to around 20 million Rand today. And how they did it is just insane. First, they rented a shop close to the bank under a fake name and pretended to run a business there. However, meanwhile, over a period of 3 months, they secretly dug a 35-meter-long tunnel which went underneath 4 other shops, leading all the way to the bank's safe. And then they looted the safe without anyone even knowing. In fact, staff only discovered the empty vault a few days later. The bank robbers disappeared and were never caught. And to this day, nobody knows who they are, and it remains an unsolved case. I mean, they're probably watching this video right now from a mansion in Camps Bay.
These people be getting away with this shit. It's crazy.
So you're telling me we just witnessed the first modern day heist? Do you guys know what's happening in Paris right now with the Louvre Museum? If you don't, stop my video, go look what's going on in Paris right now. So pretty much you're telling me 3 to 4 people dressed up as construction workers snuck into one of the most, if not the most visited museum in the entire world, into the jewelry section with France's crown jewels, stole 8 to 9 pieces in under 7 minutes and got away with it? With no video footage? As these people just rode off on motorcycles? And now what's crazy is the Apollo section in the Louvre Museum, quote unquote, was undergoing renovations. So the security in that area of the museum wasn't that high. Is that not fishy to you guys? I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when stuff like that happens, that just, it's too good to be true. I just think like the government or some sort of entity running that country is behind whatever just happened. And as these 3 to 4 robbers are walking out of the museum, they drop one of the most expensive pieces, the crown. I don't know. And my last point, this didn't happen in the middle of the night. This happened 30 minutes after the museum had just opened. There were people around, witnesses, yet nobody did anything about it. Security wasn't alerted in time, and these people just ran off on motorcycles with no trace. This also happened like 250 meters away from the Mona Lisa, which I'm assuming was jam-packed when this happened. So many, many people saw these people and saw what was going on. This is going down as one of the craziest, if not the craziest modern day heist of our generation. I don't know about you guys, but look into it. This is definitely by far the biggest heist our generation has ever witnessed. I'm gonna eat this. I love you guys. Be safe. Peace.
I ain't heard nothing about that until this video.
Did you know one man stole over $100 million from Norway's government and is still one of their richest citizens today? In 1985, Kjell Inge Røkke discovered the perfect crime hiding in plain sight. Norway's fisheries fund was distributing millions to support coastal fishing communities across the nation. But Røkke saw something else entirely, an opportunity. He began creating dozens of fake companies, each one submitting fraudulent applications for non-existent fishing operations. Government officials, many of whom he knew personally, fast-tracked his approvals without question. The stolen money was then funneled through legitimate businesses he owned, making it appear completely legal. For 7 years, his network controlled over 80% of all approved subsidy applications.
Wow.
Auditors never suspected a thing. The accounting looked flawless. When investigators finally uncovered the massive fraud in 1992, they found the entire system had been compromised. But here's the shocking twist. Røkke negotiated a settlement and kept most of his wealth.
What?
Today, he remains one of Norway's most powerful businessmen.
What?
The perfect white-collar heist.
What? How was that? That's crazy.
The biggest gem heist in history just happened, and no one's talking about it. It's not on the news anywhere aside from one article in a local newspaper in Mozambique. So historically, the largest heist was in 2002 in Belgium, and there was $100 or so million of diamonds stolen. Translated to today's dollars, that's about 160 million. Now, this mine in Mozambique had 300 kilograms of Paraiba rough stolen. Now, 300 kilograms of rough is about 1.5 million carats, and cut down, let's be really conservative and say you get a 10% yield, you have 150,000 carats of Paraiba tourmalines, which can range anywhere from low end, 1,000 per carat, up to 50, 60,000 per carat for really high end, big specimens. So that robbery, 300 kilograms of this rough material, is on the low end, being very conservative, $300 million, which is over double or about double what the last largest gem heist in history is. This is huge. Like, this is an enormous heist. This is $250 million stolen, and it's not on the news. No one's talking about it. What's going on? Follow us toward the pineapple door.
I don't know, bro. I don't know why they not talking about it.
So as I've been following the Louvre heist and the search for the perpetrators and the stolen jewelry, I started wondering about what other art heists have taken place over the years. Because of course, there have been many, but I feel like we never hear about them, only in movies and TV shows. So here are a couple of the most notorious art heists that have taken place in our world's history. First of all, there is the infamous Mona Lisa heist, which is actually what made the painting famous. In August 1911, Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian man who worked at the Louvre briefly, went back into the museum wearing his former uniform, and he walked right in and took the Mona Lisa right off the wall. At the time, the painting was really only well known in the art world, and because the museum would often remove paintings to photograph them, it wasn't immediately noticed that it was missing. But 28 hours later, the museum noticed the painting was missing and it became international news. Because of the publicity, Vincenzo decided not to sell the painting and he hid it in the false bottom of a trunk for 2 years until he decided to try to sell it to an art dealer in Florence. Immediately, that man was suspicious and reported it to authorities. And Vincenzo ended up pleading guilty to stealing the painting, saying he wanted to return it to its native Italy. He was sentenced to prison for 8 months, and the Mona Lisa was returned to the Louvre, where it remains today, now more famous than ever. Next up is the heist at the Museum of Natural History in 1964. In October of 64, a man known as Murph the Surf broke into the Museum of Natural History in New York, entering with an accomplice through a fire escape into a window. Once inside, the men cut open 3 cases in the Hall of Gems and Minerals, and they stole tons of diamonds, emeralds, and rubies, including the Star of India. Their heist was successful because the burglar alarms were not functioning at the time, and the security team was understaffed. They were able to get out of the museum and leave town, but they were quickly caught. An employee at the local hotel they were staying at noticed that the room they were staying in had a museum floor plan, brochures on gems, and shoes with glass shards on them. This person alerted police, who found that Jack Murphy had flown to Miami and stashed the gems in various places, including a bus station locker. The accomplice immediately confessed, and eventually Murphy was caught. He served decades in prison for this theft and an unrelated homicide, and all the gems were recovered except for one. The Eagle Diamond remains missing to this day, and nobody knows where it is. In 1990, 2 burglars stole 13 works of art from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, and these works have still never been found. In March 1990, 2 men dressed as police officers responded to the museum, claiming they were responding to a disturbance. They were let in, and once they were inside, they tied up the security guards in the basement. They made their way to the Dutch room on the 2nd floor and were able to acquire 13 works of art valued at over $500 million. This included works from Degas and Rembrandt, and they also stole a Vermeer painting, which is one of only 36 in existence. And the stolen works have never been found. Today, large empty frames hang in the Dutch room to signify the stolen art, and the case is not closed with the FBI investigating. There are sketches and security footage of the suspects, but they have not been identified to this day. And these 13 pieces of valuable art, both in monetary value and in historical significance, are still missing. Those are just 3, but there are so many more, so let me know if you guys want more of these.
500 million.
In 1968, a Japanese robber pulled off one of the smartest heists in history. The robber's plan unfolded in 3 steps. Days before the heist, he sent the local bank manager a letter threatening to blow up the entire building. This put everyone on edge about a potential bomb. On the day of the heist, he disguised himself as a motorcycle police officer and pulled over an armored truck containing over $10 million. He lied and told the drivers that the bank manager's house had just exploded and warned them that their vehicle might be rigged to blow up. Concerned for their own safety, the drivers allowed the robber to inspect the vehicle. While inside the truck, the robber lit a flare, filling it with smoke, and shouted that there was a bomb. This lie terrified the drivers, who abandoned the vehicle, leaving the robber free to drive away with all the money. The wildest part is that he managed to plant over 100 household objects at the scene to throw off investigators, and switch between 2 stolen getaway cars that he had positioned in advance to vanish completely. To this day, he's never been caught.
What happened? Can you tell the camera what happened?
Full heist. Biggest heist in downtown LA.
Love Jewels, a small business in downtown, reported that it was robbed overnight. $20 million in gold bars and jewelry.
They came, they dug tunnels.
Y'all don't have alarm systems like motion sensors and shit?
They disabled everything.
What'd they take?
Everything, bro. Literally everything.
You're so chill about it. You don't have PTSD? You're not over here crying and shit?
I mean, what can you do? We went through all the emotions. Right away, I was in shock. My poor parents.
What is the one thing that you learned from that experience?
Save and spend. Spend and save.
Break that down for me.
Because if you just save, you don't enjoy your money. But if you spend and save, you enjoy it, and then you get to enjoy it later. Because some people just save, and then they're boring. Some people just spend, and then later they get fucked. You gotta do both.
They want to buy golds. Where can they come?
Love Jewels. 516 South Broadway. Come buy gold. Recoup.
He's on the mission to recoup right now.
To recoup, bro.
He ain't even got no gold.
So this guy's about to steal $18 million, and he just might get away with it. Now the guy's name is Alan, and Alan, he's around 28 years old when this story starts, living in Los Angeles, and bro works at an armored depot. So he's surrounded by cash all day, moving in and out of the building. Here's the thing about Alan working around all this cash. He's the kind of guy who really wants to be rich. So it's only a matter of time before he wants to take some of this cash. And that is exactly what happens. One day in 1997, he comes up with an idea. Why not just rob his employer? And so he gets to work on this plan. He starts doing reconnaissance. He's like studying the building's floor plans. He's getting familiar with all the security camera locations. He's figuring out how to get into the vault. He even allegedly brings a camera to work and starts taking pictures, pretending like, oh, I'm just like taking some photos of my work colleagues, when in reality, he's taking pictures of the layout. But all that recon is not enough to pull off a heist this big. Alan knows that he can't do this alone, so he recruits 5 of his friends to go along with him. And this operation is so ragtag, so low budget, he literally meets up with these 5 friends in a parking lot and he draws a diagram of the whole facility on the pavement using street chalk. Like, you guys enter through this door and I'll enter through this door.
No.
It's crazy. But whatever. Now the plan is all coming together.
No.
And they set an official date that this is all gonna go down. In the meantime, Alan is still working at this job at the armored depot. And he's getting up and he's going to work every day and he's just acting normal, trying not to make anyone suspicious. But as the date gets closer to heist day, something unexpected happens.
What happened?
One day, boom, he gets fired. Allegedly, he was playing a prank on his coworker and like messing with some of his work vehicle or something. I'm not really sure if that's true. Regardless, he gets fired. Now, this screws his whole robbery plan all up. Part of his plan was to use his set of company keys to get through some of the doors of the building. But now that he's fired, he's expected to turn those keys in right away. So how's he gonna get into the building now? Well, bro is not gonna give up quite yet. He's still determined to rob this place and to get rich. So he comes up with a slightly different plan. Instead of turning those company keys in right away, he hangs on to them for an extra day or so, and he moves the date of the robbery forward. He's like, guys, we need to pull off this heist tomorrow. And so tomorrow comes, and he and his crew, they get together. And I gotta say, for just a gang of regular dudes, they've actually got all this planned out pretty well. I mean, keep in mind that none of them have ever been in trouble with the law before. Like, this heist is actually their first attempt at crime. And so anyway, first, they go to a big house party in Long Beach. And they're there and they're hanging out, they're talking to people, socializing. They're trying to make sure people see them there because they're trying to establish an alibi. And after they're there for a few hours, they slip away from the party one by one. And they all put on black clothes and ski masks and they grab their weapons and they all get into a U-Haul truck that they had rented. Then they head over to the armored depot. Once they get there, Alan uses his key to get into the building. Now, I told you they got all this planned out pretty well. Alan actually made sure to time all this so that they would be breaking into the place around the same time all the employees there are taking a meal break.
Really?
So that all the workers are in the cafeteria at the same time.
Really?
That way they won't have to like hunt them all down one by one. And so this is where shit really goes down. Because then, boom, Alan and his goons bust into the cafeteria and they're like, "This is a robbery! Nobody fucking move!" And they get all of the employees to lie down on the floor and they duct tape their hands and their feet. Then Alan finds the supervisor and he takes that supervisor's set of keys, which open the main vault. So then he goes and he opens the vault and he and the goons, they start taking the cash out and they load it into the U-Haul. These guys fill this truck with $18.9 million worth of cash, which in today's dollars, it's about $38 million. Damn. Once they're done, just to be cautious, they smash all the security cameras and they steal the tapes that have the evidence recorded on them. Then they all get in the U-Haul and they leave. These guys got the whole heist done in about 30 minutes, that's not bad for a bunch of amateurs. However, they're not quite done yet, because then they go back to an apartment, they change back into their normal non-robbery clothes, and they go back to that big house party where they were at earlier, and they start hanging out to make it look like, yo, we never left, which is actually pretty smart, to solidify their alibi. Meanwhile, the employees back at the Armored Depot, they're eventually able to free themselves and call the police. And so police come and they investigate. And after looking it all over, they're pretty sure this was an inside job. It was just too sophisticated and the robbers were way too knowledgeable of the layout of this place for it not to be an employee or a former employee. Not only that, one of the employees who was tied up during the robbery, he apparently recognized Alan's voice and he suspects that he might be involved. So now police are looking into Alan. And they start monitoring him to see if he or any of his friends start flashing money around like an idiot. But here's the thing. Alan and his goons don't flash a bunch of money around. They barely spend any of it right away. Instead, they just wait. They wait for it all to blow over. And 6 months go by. And now they finally feel like it's safe to start spending and laundering the $18.9 million they got. And like some of them are buying homes at foreclosures and then renting them out. They're buying cars, but used cars, and they're buying them with cash. They even set up fake companies to run the money through. I'm telling you, for a bunch of amateurs, these guys are actually pretty smart. And it looks like they might even get away with this. Until 2 years go by. And all these guys are still in the clear, and they've each got a cut of their money, and none of them have been arrested. No one is really being investigated at this point because police don't have any real evidence against any of them. But then one of the goons finally screws up. Because one day he's buying some real estate to use in his money laundering scheme, and of course he's paying for it with cash. And so he's there at the real estate office or whatever, and he hands over a bunch of money to the real estate agent. Then he leaves. And so the real estate agent is counting this money, and he gets to one of the stacks of cash, and he sees that it still has the paper wrapper around the middle that says Dunbar Armored on it, which is the name of the Armored Depot that Alan and his goons robbed. And so this real estate agent calls the police, and he reports it. And so, bam, police go and they arrest the goon. Now this goon, he immediately flips on everyone, and so, bam, they arrest Alan. Here's his mugshot. And also, they arrest the other goons. Here's a bunch of their mugshots. And Alan gets sentenced to 24 years in prison. One of the goons gets sentenced to 17 years in prison, while the rest of the goons, they got between 8 and 10 years in prison.
Bruh, what?
Have you heard of Malone Lame? He's a 20-year-old kid that stole $230 million worth of Bitcoin in one night and then lost it all the next day. Here's how it happened. So this kid basically called clients of a credit union pretending to be Google support via spoof numbers to compromise personal accounts. He would then call back as Gemini support, Gemini being like one of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world, and he would tell these people that their accounts were hacked. He would then social engineer the victims into resetting their 2FA security and having them send their Gemini funds guns to compromise wallets. And this part is like, come on, bro. I mean, the guy that got scammed should have known better. He got this guy to use AnyDesk on his computer, which is basically like a share my screen app that allows you to share your screen with other people. And he showed this kid his private keys to his Bitcoin accounts. At that point, it's GG's. You can pause this if you want to read it, but basically he had help from 2 other kids as well. They're about the same age, and they were able to take 4,100 Bitcoin from one man's account, $230 million. Now you might be asking, how did this kid get caught? Well, literally in the dumbest way possible. Let me show you a video that he shared that night from a club.
No. He turning up. He turning up.
He spent over $1 million at that club in just that night, and he was parading his money through all the clubs in the streets of Miami. This was the wildest part to me. He had a crush on this girl and used some of his money to buy her a Urus and like a bunch of Birkin bags, and this girl just straight up said, I don't want it, I have a boyfriend. So yeah, it's pretty obvious who did it when 2 20-year-old kids go on a crazy spending spree. I mean, look at this house. They bought cars, jewelry, a bunch of rental properties in Miami, in Los Angeles. They went out to like every single club flaunting all this money. It was probably some of the best nights that they'll ever experience in their lives and will never experience again because they are going to jail now.
Wow. Wow.
20-year-old kid stole $200 million from a crypto scam, and he lost it the next day. What would he do? Have you heard of Malone Lamb? Nah. Probably the biggest cases going on, and he got caught like a week ago. So his plan, right? Him and a couple other dudes would call credit unions. Yeah. So they would call and scam and be like, oh, we're Google support. Your credit union has been hacked. I hate those, bro. Boom. He would hang up. So he would call back as Gemini support. Yeah. So that's the big crypto exchange, right? And he would be like, oh, we need you to send all your Bitcoin into this wallet. That wallet? Compromised. That's his. So he manipulated into changing their 2-factor, sent all the money. They hit the biggest lick on one guy for 4,000 Bitcoin. 4,000 Bitcoin is $200 million. That's crazy. And he played it. No, but low-key, this is why I don't think he knew that he was gonna get caught. Why? He recorded his whole scam. So he vlogged on Discord. That's kind of crazy. Look, listen.
What?
Damn. Crazy. So he had all his homies in the Discord like, yo, look at this. Yeah, look at this. And all mans were recording because they saw the... Was it just him, or did he have like a whole team around him? 2 mans, the same age, yeah.
Man.
Here are the top 3 biggest bank robberies of all time. In 3rd place is the robbery of the Knightsbridge security deposit, and this was carried out by an infamous Italian bank robber. He and an assistant walked into the bank and asked to rent out a safe deposit box. Then, when they were shown to the vault, they pulled out guns and overpowered the guards. They then broke into lots of safe deposit boxes and ran off with $97 million in cash and valuables. However, the main robber was eventually caught. In 2nd place is the Dar el Salam bank heist. This was orchestrated by a group of men who worked at a bank in Baghdad. The men ended up stealing $282 million in cash, and luckily they got away. Apparently the robbers had contacts within the police and military, which made the operation a success. Finally, in 1st place as the largest heist ever is the Central Bank of Iraq robbery. And the heist was pulled off by the Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein. He sent his son along with 3 trucks to steal nearly $1 billion from the country's bank.
Bro, this is some big money.
Did you know that a man's body was found hogtied and frozen to death inside a meat truck after one of the largest heists in history? In the middle of the night on December 11th, 1978, 6 men broke into the Lufthansa's airline cargo terminal at New York's John F. Kennedy Airport. The men quickly made their way to the airline's vault, stealing $5.8 million in cash and $800,000 worth of jewels, a value that would be worth around $32 million today. None of the men involved would ever be caught for this robbery.
Really?
But just because the men were never caught doesn't mean that they lived long enough to enjoy the money. You see, authorities began to connect the 6 men to the Lucchese crime family, one of the 5 notorious Italian-American mafia crime families that ruled New York during this time period. But as authorities began to pinpoint exactly who was involved in the robbery, one by one, the men in question began to show up dead.
Damn.
Over a dozen bodies and numerous disappearances made convicting anyone impossible. Many men were found shot to death.
A man was found hogtied and frozen to death inside of a meat refrigeration truck. Then a few days later, a woman's torso washed ashore in New Jersey. In the end, none of the money was ever recovered. And with so many people murdered, no one really knows who ended up with the money.
In just 7 minutes, they stole over $120 million and no one noticed. Not a guard, not a camera operator, not a single witness. At 9:30 a.m., 4 men arrived at the Louvre Museum in broad daylight, dressed as maintenance workers, carrying nothing but tools and confidence. While one climbed the service ladder, the others stood watch, their every move hidden in plain sight. Moments later, the old balcony door gave in. No alarms, no panic. Inside the Royal Gallery, they moved calmly. Each display had been studied weeks in advance. They knew exactly what to take. The man in the orange helmet knelt by the showcase. A screwdriver, a twist, and centuries of history were his. In a black case, they placed the crown of France. Diamonds, rubies, and gold.
This is real.
Worth more than nations. Within seconds, the men vanished into Paris traffic, blending with the morning chaos. The operation took 7 minutes. No suspects, no arrests.
That was real footage. That's wild.
Everything has been taken. Everything. They didn't leave nothing.
South Bay Gold here in Manhattan Beach, the target of a Labor Day jewelry heist.
Everything is gone. They got everything.
Management tells us the burglars got away with millions of dollars worth of gold, jewelry, and watches. Police say the burglars came in through the roof, climbed down, got into the safes, and cleared everything out. Now, South Bay Gold and police are trying to figure out who's responsible.
The place has been destroyed and robbed. All the safes has been opened.
I hope she got some insurance or something, man. Like,
fun fact, a Lithuanian man stole $122 million from Facebook and Google just by sending them fake invoices that they paid without checking. Evaldas Rimasauskas first set up a company in Lithuania that more or less had the same name as Quanta Computers, which is a Taiwanese-based electronics manufacturing firm that both Google and Facebook work with. He then began sending both companies invoices for things they hadn't ordered, but the companies still paid the bills regardless. Between 2013 and 2015, Evaldas stole $23 million from Google and $99 million from Facebook. Eventually, the FBI caught on to his scheme, and Evaldas was arrested by Lithuanian authorities and extradited to New York for trial. Evaldas pled guilty to 1 count of wire fraud and was sentenced to 60 months in prison plus 2 years probation. He was also ordered to forfeit $49.7 million and pay reimbursements to Facebook and Google of nearly $26.5 million.
Okay, so they got that bread back, because, man.
Have you heard of the Bangladeshi bank heist?
No.
Now we're talking. The biggest bank robbery in history was, I think it's about $60 million in Brazil in about 2015, 2016. With cybercrime recently, they almost hacked $1 billion from the Bangladeshi bank using the SWIFT system, right? For context, that year, the Bangladeshi GDP was like 230 billion. So think with GDP as well, it's movement of money. It's not total money. If Chris sends George 10 and I send it back, boom, 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 that acts towards the GDP, but it's just us exchanging money. So imagine taking $1 billion like that from a developing country immediately. You know the only reason why it failed? The bank in the Philippines they were sending it to was called Jupiter Street. And Jupiter was a company associated with Iranian money laundering. So it just happened to flag in the system. Otherwise it would have gone through. And
both of which were human error.
$1 billion would have been taken from Bangladesh, like one of the poorest countries in the world, like that.
Wow. All right, guys, that was another compilation video, man, of the biggest heists in history. And a lot of these people got off. A lot of these people, that is very shocking. That is very shocking. A lot of this stuff sounds like some movie stuff, but a lot of them people got off, man. If you made it this far, you a real one for real. Don't forget to put that in the comments. Also, like I said, if you want to book a one-on-one consultation with me, you can. It'll be in the pinned comment. But till next time, man, self-love and positivity. Fire Squad, I got you and you know it.